It's a new dawn, it's a new day, and today it's finally time for the Ténéré Rally Edition review. Before we start, let's pour some beverages, because that's just fun, isn't it?
That's just what we do.
Yes. To the Rally Edition. In this video, we're gonna talk about a few topics. I'm just gonna say now which topics we're gonna talk about, and then we're gonna go ahead and start with the first one. The first one is gonna be the previous bikes that my dad has ridden, because I think if you do a review, you should take into account the previous bikes, because if my dad would have ridden only sports bikes, then maybe the Ténéré is a slow bike, and you know, if you ride only 125 cc's, then the Ténéré is going to be a fast bike. So it's something you have to take into consideration. The next topic is the reason why you bought the Ténéré and not some other bike. Then we're going to talk a little bit about the price, what to expect, and also what you get for it. So the specs a little bit as well. Then the accessories, I'm gonna do a separate video on that, because there is a fair amount of accessories on it already. So that's just gonna be a video of itself. Also in other videos I'm going to do some comparisons. I'm gonna compare it to my own bike. I'm probably gonna compare it to the Himalayan, which is my dad's other bike.
Himalayan.
And maybe Himalayan. It's always the discussion. And maybe also we're gonna compare it to my girlfriend's bike, which I haven't revealed yet, so look forward to it. And then maybe also the Versus 650, which is Laura's bike, which is also an adventure bike. So yeah, I could also compare it to like a Ninja 400, but I don't know if that's really, you know, something to be compared. But then we're gonna get a little bit more personal, and you know, I'm gonna ask my dad all the questions, because it's his bike and he's ridden it 3,000 kilometers, I think. So yeah, I'm gonna ask him what he thinks of it, his general first impressions, how he, you know, how he feels the bike, how he likes it on road, off road, also highway riding, long distance, all that stuff. And then we're gonna finish off with 3 things you hate and 3 things you like, to just like do a summary, I guess, of the video. So you're looking forward to the video?
Always.
Always, huh? Let's start with your previous bikes. Which bikes have you owned before?
I owned a R1200 GS BMW for at least 10 years, I think. And then I bought the Himalayan. I had that for about 2-3 years. Not good on dates.
4 years.
4 years? Okay. That's it. And in the past I also rented bikes, but I rented a cruiser. I test rode cruisers also. Maybe that's my next bike. But,
I think it's funny because the 1200 GS, it's like the big engine, and then there is a 400 Himalayan, and now you have a 700, like almost right in the middle you have this bike. So it's interesting how that evolves.
Yeah. So why did I buy the Ténéré after the Himalayan? Because my future plans also include some bigger trips down to Africa. And maybe I have 5 weeks, a month, something like that. And I want to travel by road. So I want to do the highway through France, through Spain, and then into Morocco, then do a trip there. And if I have to do that with the Himalayan, too much highway, it's not an ideal bike for that.
So to summarize a bit, you bought it because you thought you were going to do more long distance travels, and you want to get to the destination a bit faster by going on the highway, for example, you know, being a bit more comfortable long distance and getting away from the continent.
Yeah, and also for the more power off-road.
Yeah. I know. Yeah, because the countries you're gonna want to do is gonna have a lot of sand, I think,
Yeah.
and they're hot, like in temperature hot countries,
Yeah, also.
and that's gonna be an issue with the Himalayan, I think.
Well, not necessarily, but the deep sand with an Himalayan, it has not enough power for the deep sand, I think.
Yeah. And of course, not to forget, you just fell in love with the Ténéré. Saw a lot of
course.
videos on it, and you
Yeah.
just couldn't resist.
That's also a big part, because you can rationalize about why not, but most of the time you buy it because you love it.
Yeah.
And
Exactly.
then the focus becomes very narrow.
Yeah. Yeah. I understand completely. Here in Europe, the prices go from a basic price of about 10,000 euros to whatever accessories you choose, it can go up to 15,000 euros. So that's like a little bit like the area you're looking for, between a 10 and 15,000 euros. So yeah, that's just what the price is. And now let's talk a bit about what you get for it. So the specs. Ténéré 700. The Yamaha Ténéré Rally Edition has got a 4-stroke parallel twin engine with a 689 cc displacement engine. It is liquid cooled and it has got 72 horsepower at 9,000 RPMs. Then torque, also important, it's got 68 Newton meters at 6,500 RPM. The front tire is 21 inches with 210 millimeters travel. The rear one is 18 inch and it's got 200 millimeters of travel. Then the seat height, it's, what do you think?
Something 90 centimeters?
Yes, 89 centimeters high. It's got 24 centimeters of ground clearance and it's 204 kilograms wet, so with oil and gas and all that. And then finally, it's got 16 liters capacity for fuel. What do you think is about the average fuel consumption?
I don't know the average fuel consumption, but I know I can ride approx 300 kilometers.
300 kilometers with 16 liters. Alright, let's just calculate that and put it here. So yes, for all the nerds out there, that were the specs. Always interesting to know. But for me, it always comes down to riding experience and just the feel of the bike and how it handles everything. So let's talk about that more. It's clear to see which one of us has got an alcohol problem. So, what are your general first impressions of the bike?
General.
Yes, the general first impressions. Like the first time you sat on the bike and you did just a riding tour. What were your first impressions?
Well, the throttle, it has a bit of an on-off response. It's not so smooth as, for example, with the Himalayan. So that was some of the first things I discovered.
It's less smooth.
Less smooth, yeah.
Okay.
And yeah, also the seat, it's hard.
Yeah.
It's hard.
Would you say the Ténéré is less forgiving as like a Himalayan?
Less forgiving.
Yeah, like if you make a mistake with the throttle,
Yeah.
it's gonna be a problem.
It's still a forgiving bike because it's not a KTM. So if you give it a go,
If you twist the wrist.
if you twist the wrist, there's no real big issue. The wheel won't spin out under you. It's not extremely overpowered.
What were some other things that you noticed? Something fun?
Something fun.
Yeah, not like the hard seat and all that, but just the fun.
Something fun, yeah. Immediately you have the feeling of the big bike again. You don't have that on the Himalayan. So the big bike feel, the on top of the traffic feel,
The power.
the more adventurous. You see more of the bike because it goes up. The tank goes up. You see more of the dash. So of course, when the first ride, when you buy it in the first month, you're still in love. So everything is great. Maybe also something interesting to mention. I bought the rally edition because if you in Belgium, if you buy a regular edition, you have to wait for months, and this one month and it was there.
So that's the reason you chose the rally edition, because you could get it faster.
Because I'm very impatient.
Okay. I thought you picked the rally edition because you loved like the classic color of it. At the back of the bike there's some like a yellow stripe, and that's really typical classic Ténéré. I think the first Ténéré had that.
Yeah. If you see the commercial of this edition, they compare it with the old edition.
Ah,
it's
yeah.
the same color scheme.
Okay.
And also, of course, the golden rims. Yeah.
Yeah.
Who doesn't like golden rims? That's beautiful.
Yes. Alright, so that was like the first impressions. Then you rode 1,000 kilometers. And then after that 2,000 and 3,000 kilometers. What changed?
What changed? If you ride it more, of course you ride off-road. We ride off-road. But it's all in Belgium. It's a moderate off-road. It's not really a dangerous off-road. So, okay. Then you feel that the bike is a bit top-heavy.
So the weight is about the same as the Himalayan, but it's more top-heavy because the weight is just more up.
Yeah, it feels more heavy.
Maybe it's a good idea to go and have a look at the bike and just see, sit on it and look at the weight and the seating position and all that. Sit straight with your legs on the ground. Your Crocs, for God's sake.
Yeah, but it's about the same size as my boots.
Yeah, okay. So, you can flat-foot it.
Yeah.
What is your height, Dad?
185 centimeters. So that's approx 6 feet.
6 feet, okay. So 6 feet, you can flat-foot the Yamaha Ténéré.
And the suspension, I put it as hard as possible.
You put the suspension as hard as it can get.
Yeah. Because I like it like that.
Okay, so I'm 178 centimeters high. With my shoes on, it's about 180. And I cannot flat-foot it. But I'm comfortable. I'm not on my tippy toes, but I'm just at the ball of my feet, so I mean, I'm in control. It would be perfect for me. This would be actually better than my own bike. My own bike, I can flat-foot it a bit too much. It's a bit too low for me. I think the bike is perfect from about 178 centimeters until like you're freaking tall. Let's talk a bit about just general riding. Small tarmac roads. What do you think?
I think a small tarmac with any bike is a non-issue. Mm-hmm. It's off-road, it's the highway, that can be issues, but the small tarmac with every bike, it's okay.
Just, road riding, just in general, that's what I mean, like the
B roads.
The B roads, twisty roads.
Any enduro bike, it's very easy to handle. If you have a bit speed, it's very easy to handle. It's just part of the concept of an enduro bike.
Then, next thing, something people always wonder, highways. What is the experience going 120 kilometers an hour, which is the speed limit here?
It goes very easy, 120 of course.
Does it accelerate until that point?
And beyond.
Yeah.
It's a non-issue of course. 120 is very slow it can easily go 150, 160, but so it's very easy to go that speed. But the comfort at that speed, that's another issue. The windshields, I replaced it because the standard windshield is rather low, and I had a lot of wind noise, wind buffering around my head, and so I replaced it, and now it's much better. If you ride long on the highway, more than 2-3 hours, then I had a problem with the seat. The seat is hard, but hard is one thing, but it's also very narrow. So I had a problem with it, so I bought a cushion.
Yeah, this thing,
Yeah,
the Air Shock.
the Air Hawk, I think it's called.
Ah, Air Hawk.
Yeah.
So
And,
what you do with it is you just and then
Yeah, it widens the seat and it takes away the pressure points. And
So,
it's
yeah.
not so expensive than a new seat. A new seat is expensive, and yeah, you don't want a very wide seat on such a
narrow bike.
such a bike. With this on it,
You can ride all day on the highway.
yeah,
Alright. So we've had just the normal small tarmac roads. We have had the highways. Long distance is also a topic I would like to talk about. What is the longest you've ridden in a day?
that's
8 to 12 hours or something? Just a whole day?
yeah, a whole day, but not without stopping.
Yeah.
You always have to stop. It's more a long distance bike than the Himalayan, I think, especially if you take highways. But it's not a good if you compare it to a GS. A GS is more suitable for long distance because the seat is wider, and that's the main thing with adventure bikes. This, for me, this is not a true adventure bike. It's more like a mix of an enduro bike and an adventure bike.
Yeah. Seat may not be the most comfortable thing, but I think it really, complements the look of the bike. It's more sporty, it's more enduro because of the narrow seat.
Yeah, and you can move in front, you can move to the back because it's one straight line.
Yeah, and it goes in between your legs even further. So if you're standing up, you can it holds you. Like it's got some grip if you're standing
Yeah,
up.
also.
So that's
And
great
it's,
for off-road.
Yeah, true. And it's very narrow when you stand up. It's just if you're riding all day long, then you will get some discomfort.
Then you will need the Airhawk, not sponsored. So before we start talking about the 3 things you love, 3 things you hate, first I just want to end the general impression about off-road riding. So of course it's a rally edition, so people want to know off-road capabilities. What's it like? Is it perfect?
It gives you a lot of confidence if you go off-road because you have the power, and that's a big thing, especially in the deep sand. You can blip the throttle and you'll get a reaction. If, on the Hemi, if you blip the throttle, blip, then nothing much happens.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's usual that something happens if you blip the throttle, that the wheel spins a bit, and
Yeah.
you go back straight.
You're just confident that the bike is going to be fine, and you're gonna just throttle on and go, and you're not gonna have to worry in the back of your head like I'm gonna fall down, I'm gonna break down, something's gonna go wrong.
Yeah, confidence has a lot to do with it, of course, but if I think things we do, we don't do a lot of deep sand. Mostly it's muddy conditions, and then you drive slowly in the mud because you don't want to go fast in mud. So in the mud you feel the top heaviness of the bike. So you have to keep some speed, not extensive, extreme speed, but just some speed that you can continue rolling. But off-road is a wide category.
Yeah.
So gravel and all that fire roads, that's all easy, especially with the Ténéré. But the mud, if you really do a lot of mud, it's always the same. You need a lighter bike, and it's heavy. 200 kilos is heavy for off-road riding.
I think a lot of off-road experience is also got to do with suspension and the wheels, just how the wheels are, because if you put some road tires on this bike,
Yeah.
you're not gonna go very far off-road. So these are the STR Scorpion Pirellis. Other way around, but that's generally it.
The structure of the tire, for me, that it's a very good tire for the sand.
Yeah, it scoops the sand away because it's all these bars. I think it's like a step up from 50/50 tires. This is more suitable for off-road riding.
It's more
50/50s is okay because you know people that get 50/50s like me, it's because like here in Belgium you do so much tarmac that you don't want to go overboard with like off-road tires. But these ones are actually very good on the road as well.
Yeah.
And they have a good review on like wet surfaces.
Yeah, so I think the compound is also very soft.
Yeah.
So and yeah, the longevity is also very good. So I don't. If I buy new ones, probably it would be the same.
The same ones.
Yeah.
I wanted to get these tires as well for my bike, but couldn't do it because the measurement wasn't good. So
Your rim is too wide
yeah.
at the back.
Okay, so last thing that I wanna touch upon is 3 things you don't really like about the bike. And then we're gonna end it with 3 things you love, of course, because we have to have that happy ending. But
If you ask such difficult questions, I have to look at the bike.
you have to look at the bike.
Find some hateful things. The things I will mention, I already mentioned.
Yeah, it's a bit of a summary.
Yeah, it's the hard seat. It's the lack of wind protection. It's the top heaviness.
Okay, that are 3 things you don't like. That was pretty fast.
Because I already mentioned them.
Okay, and now the very last thing, 3 things you absolutely love about this bike. What are your favorite things about this bike?
Yeah, the look.
The look.
I think for me it looks great. The big bike feel. And the reliability of it. I think it's a very reliable bike.
Yeah.
So that's the main reason why I bought it.
Just a peace of mind while riding it, it's reliable.
Yeah, if you go long journeys.
Okay, I think that's it. That was a review, the first impressions review of the Yamaha Ténéré. I think if you reach like 10,000, 15,000, we're gonna do it again. Because things always change after like the first period, so yeah, that would be interesting. Yeah, so look forward to the accessory video that's coming up next. And anything to add?
The classic sentence. Subscribe, hit the bell.
Subscribe, hit the bell.
All that stuff.
Boring. Alright, hope you enjoyed this video. And now,
Bye bye.
bye bye.